Hello everybody and welcome to another video. I am Icy Boom and today I am going to be making a ranking list. As some of you may know, I have been doing Phantom Forces videos for the past 6 years and I thought we could rank the assault rifles currently in this game. There are currently 25 of them. Just for note, this list is not going to be easy, so if your favorite weapon is not at the top of the list, then that's okay. It's probably because I didn't enjoy it as much as you did. Okay, let's get started. For number 25, I decided to go with the M231, and for personal reasons. I know that this gun is put in a higher rank, but this is of course a troll gun. I am not a fan of this gun because the recoil is very nasty. Trust me, this gun is only worth for shorter ranges. However, it's not really worth the money or credit if you ask me. But if you want to use like attachments and you're okay with using it, then that's totally up to you, but I don't find it personally as my favorite. For number 24, I decided to go with the AK-47. Now this gun has been the most popular gun in recent video games because it has been dangerous. However, this gun in particular, I don't find it that dangerous. I feel like it's really hard to hit people that way because I know that the damage is high, but the recoil is high as well. I don't find it that bad, it's just hard to aim with because of the recoil. For number 23, I went with the M16A4. I will say for some of these guns personally, I don't like this one in particular. It is a burst weapon and the damage is kind of low. However, if you get close to the person, it could technically work. But sometimes I find it hard to use. Waiting for another shot could take another second or so, but I could see myself dying to it easily. For number 22, I went with the TAR-21. I feel like this one in general is fine, but I'm kind of on the low side with it. It does have fast fire rate, which is okay. However, I just feel like in general it is a bit tough to hit people at close corners because of the velocity of the bullet, or maybe just the control of the gun as well. Either way, it's an okay gun. It can be a little hard to hit people at further ranges because of it. For number 21, I went with the Asval. So for this weapon, I feel like the damage is fine and the fire rate is fine as well. I feel like the ammo magazine in particular is what makes me struggle to put this higher on the list. However, you can technically extend the magazine from 20 to 30 if you want. I mean, this gun, it can be used in so many different ways, but if you have the right attachment, you should be okay. Unless if you do know how to use this weapon. However, I'm not really used to this weapon, so I'm not a fan of it whatsoever. For number 20, I went with the AKM. It's similar to the AK-47, but it's a little bit easier to hit opponents that way, and it has a bit more damage. Just the same stats as before. It's hard to aim at longer ranges, but very good at shorter ranges. I just don't find it that very abusive because of the recoil on the AKM. For number 19, I went with the Type 88. I will say this weapon, the damage on this thing is a bit low. It might take about 4 to 5 shots to kill, and the fire rate on this gun is low as well. It's okay. I wouldn't say it's that bad. It's kind of hard to kill people with this weapon because of its fire rate. For number 18, I went with the FAMAS F1. Now I believe we are getting to the weapons that are great for killing opponents. This one I believe should do its job as it's very good to control. 25 rounds are not too bad. I think the damage on the other hand is a bit low at longer range, but if used at shorter ranges, it should be able to kill opponents very quickly. For number 17, I went with the AK-103. This weapon is really good in many ways. I think because the damage is good and it's good to aim with. I also love that every weapon kind of has 30 ammo pieces into most guns. If used without sight, it should hit the opponent, as the suppressor is a good example of keeping your gun on the ground instead of just in the air. For number 16, I went with the M16A3. I would have put this at the M16A4, But the best part about this gun is that it is an auto, so you can hold down the gun as quick as possible. Damage overall is like the same as the M16A4, does have fast fire rate. I did know from a lot of comments that a lot of people don't really like this gun. I think those people are just wrong. I think this gun is pretty good. For number 15, I went with the STG-44, another higher rank gun. I do like it. However, why it's not higher on the list is because the gun doesn't have a fast fire rate, so it can be a little harder to use, but the damage, however, is good, so it can easily kill easily against your opponents. For number 14, I went with the AK-74. It's similar to the other AKs, but with better control, sight, speed, and damage. I think this AK does its job as the other AKs because there's like no recoil, so it can easily attract your opponent, and if used correctly, this should have a really good sight as well. Or at least if you can use it, it's perfect. For number 13, I went with the AUG-A1. This gun has a scope at the top once you get it for the first time, but if you don't want it for another reason, just use a different sight instead. I do like that you can change to different sights, so if you ever want to shoot at longer range, simply switch the sights around. Oh yeah, and I did not mention the stats at all. They are okay, like the fire rate and damage. For number 12, I went with the AUG-A2, and it's basically the same thing as the AUG-A1, but there is no scope on the top, and the stats are pretty much the same thing. So there's nothing much to talk about as it's still the same gun. For number 11, I went with the AUG-A3. Like I said before, it's pretty much the same thing as the AUG-A2 and the AUG-A1. However, I think there is a little bit more damage and durability on this thing too, which is pretty neat. For number 10, I went with the Type 20. I think this gun, it's pretty easy to use. I do like the damage and accuracy, as it can technically be useful at further ranges because of the velocity of the bullet. It's very good gun to try at least, but overall, I like their stats. For number 9, I went with the K2. I do love this gun now. When I tried it for the first time, I couldn't barely hit people because of further ranges. However, I did get better while using it. It's a great gun overall. It has a fast fire rate and has really good damage too. And the velocity of the bullet can determine how close you are to the opponent. For number 8, I went with the SCAR-L. I played this gun so many times because it was a great experience to learn Phantom Forces for the first time while using it. I do like the stats, as I have previously mentioned. The damage and the fire rate overall are good. For number 7, I went with the AK-12. Somehow the starter assault weapon is a little better than the other ones, like the higher rank ones. I do believe this weapon has the tight edge of most guns, as the damage is really good, and I think it's very good to control and aim with, and I do love the fire rate. It's considered as one of the best AKs to this day. For number 6, I went with the G36. I do love this gun a ton, as it's very easy to hit opponents who are at close corners. Really do love the accuracy and fire rate, and I don't mind the damage. I think it's like better than the rest of the Gs, like the G36C, the G36K, and probably the MG36 as well. For number 5, I went with the AN-94. Now this was a weapon that I didn't really like, as it was just burst back in the older updates from Phantom Forces. But now I like this weapon, as the damage is high and I love the accuracy on this thing now. It can be obtained at the next rank with the assault category once you get it next to the AK-12. And now it can be used as an auto, but you can technically still switch to a burst if you want. Still, I love this weapon. For number 4, I went with the C7A2. I like the statistics of this weapon, as it's very easy to control. The damage is high and it does a very fast fire rate. No recoil whatsoever. I think it does its job of tracking opponents around the corners, and it can be a bit better if you just run out of ammo and go with your secondary bullet if you try and get your opponents that easily. For number 3, I went with the L58A2. I do love this gun. The damage on it is good. I do like how it can be useful at longer ranges and sometimes hitting the head. Fire rate is good too. I never felt so good to put this gun higher than the rest, as it's pretty neat to have a gun that is kind of struggling but also very useful too. For number 2, I went with the G11K2. The highest rank gun somehow made it this far. I think what sells about this gun is the stats. Like this, of course, my first time ever playing this, I do love the stats. Even though it might be a burst, I think it's great for sniping down your opponent because of the amount of damage it deals with. And last but certainly not least, if you know what it is, for the number 1 spot, no doubt, the HK416. I have no words for this gun. Like, what do you want me to say with this? Well, the damage overall is good, fire rate is fast. For me, I have gotten over 5,000 kills because of using this gun more often. Seriously, the reason why I love this weapon so much is that I use the right tools in order to kill the enemy, and by tools I meant attachments. So if you ever feel like you are struggling, I think the HK416 should help, as it's a pretty neat gun for some of the higher ranked people that enjoy assault rifles. So that's gonna wrap up this video, and I want to read you. Do you agree with this list? Is there something you want me to might change? Let me know in the comments down below, and also comment what your favorite assault weapon is in Phantom Forces. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.